Dave Letterman's top 10 list today on the ManSpace.
It's a real yawner.
Welcome to the ManSpace podcast. We're your hosts, Doctors Matt Brown and Rob Porter, and clinical therapist Mike Porter. Welcome, Spacemen.
Mike's already looking super interested.
Yeah, Mike looked real bored by that. It was his idea, everybody.
In my defense, I gave the idea like 2 weeks ago.
I mean,
that reminds me, dude. Keep going, but the top 10. Let me find it. Keep talking.
I miss Dave Letterman's top 10 lists, by the way.
Dave Letterman was funny. Sometimes those top 10 lists, though, were like, number one was always like, what? Why was that funny? I saw one once where Eminem came out and read them all off.
Mm-hmm.
And he was like really angry. Guy's angry all the time, I guess. Dude, you know what's an interesting movie? Did you guys see One Battle After Another?
No, but I'm super intrigued by it, but I haven't seen it.
The first like 30, 40 minutes, it's all kind of set up for what's going to be the movie, which is another 2 hours after that.
Mm-hmm.
And like his Leonardo DiCaprio's girlfriend, I'm like, dude, get her out of the freaking camera. I can't take her. She's driving me nuts. And then she gets out of the camera. But Leonardo DiCaprio is so good in it, man. He's so good in everything.
Is there something he's not good in?
No, him and Ryan Gosling, both those guys.
Yeah.
Like, dude, you guys are, everything you touch is gold.
Have you guys seen Project Hail Mary?
No, I read the book.
No.
Loved
you read
it.
the book?
Yeah, I read it a long time ago, back when, I don't know, when it came out, I guess. I mean, listen to it. Rob doesn't read.
Still counts.
I'm an oral tradition. Huh? Still
I
counts?
can't find it.
Okay, good. Cool
I
story.
can't find the book.
This is what it was a top 10 list, but it was like top 10 names for a hat shop. And I swear one of them was, if you don't want a hat, then screw you.
I hope so, dude.
If you don't want a hat, then screw you.
I feel like that kind of stuff is necessary. Like sometimes I feel like, let's not take ourselves too seriously. Stuff like that, that's funny. That's good.
I think
really
I told
wish
you
that
about
was someone's name.
Yeah, my one of my therapists was telling me that I think there was a salon she used to go to. It was called Curl Up and Die.
Yeah.
I swear that's from Runaway Bride.
Really?
Oh, let's see. Maybe
I
they
swear that's
robbed
the name
it.
of the salon in Runaway Bride. Curl Up and Die.
Oh, with the DYE.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Curl up and die. There's lots of them. They're all over the place.
Yeah, there's one here.
Yeah,
Huh.
the hair salon in the 1999 movie was Curl Up and Die.
Nice. Yeah,
Huh.
they
I
franchised
wonder
it.
if it's... Do you think it came from the movie?
Probably.
Probably.
I think it's more likely than not.
Huh.
Especially given
Fascinating.
what I would expect the age of the owners of those salons to be.
Mm-hmm.
Curl up and
Our
die.
age, which means they would have watched this movie and thought, oh, that's a great name for a salon.
It is a good one. Someone was smart.
What would be the top 10 names for a therapy practice?
Oh.
All I can think of is the ones that I don't love.
I'll tell you
that's
what,
what I'm saying. Like good ones.
my friend
Therapy group, family practice.
Now, my friend Ryan, when he was making my website, I think I've mentioned this one. He had one that just said, this could be a name. Get Theraped. Or you could say get therapied, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
What would be a...
Get one of those little Calvin stickers.
Suck it up counseling.
All life is meaningless counseling. What's the point counseling? What's the point couples therapy? We had a good run couples therapy.
Dude, I
There
told
you
you about
go.
that one time. this was like a long time ago. I was working with a couple, and I just couldn't de-escalate, and so they kind of paused in the middle. They're like, "Yeah, we need to just go to individual counseling." And I was like, I was trying to ask, like, okay, well, let's consider maybe what you would want to get from that. I was like, okay, let's talk about, like, what do you think would be the point of that? And they were like, yeah, you're right. And they just both got up and walked out. It's just like, it's a lost cause. I caught them before they left, but I was like, no, I was like literally trying to ask you what you would want to get out of that. And they're like, no, you're right. There is no point though. Like, thanks for saying that. And I was like, cool.
They're going to walk away and be like, our therapist told us to get divorced. It's like,
what?
I do like that. I had that recently with somebody where it was like, guys, what are we doing here? I cost a lot of money. You're not getting anything from this. Stop coming to see me. Like, what are you doing here?
Did it work?
Yeah. It with this couple, it actually, for them, it actually kind of spurred them into like, well, I do want to talk about this. It's like, I've been asking about that. Like, why don't you bring it up? Because, we've talked about this. You guys know this. Sometimes the imminent threat of firing by the therapist spurs somebody on to be like, well, hold on, I do want to talk about this. It's like, okay, cool. But this couple, it was like, I genuinely was like, you guys, there's a lot of ways you could spend this money. It doesn't have to be with me. I'll get my boat one day. Don't worry about me.
I think you mean your dinghy. You're going to take it to a bay in Newfoundland.
Quit playing with your dinghy. I think this is a random side note. I think my cousin owns land in Newfoundland.
Which cousin?
A bunch of land there's going to frack.
Who?
And make tons of money on.
Is this on Becky's side?
Yeah, sorry, Becky's cousin.
Oh, I was like,
we don't have any cool cousins like that.
Yeah. I could only think of one cousin that might do that.
All right, so it's 2:15. We're diving into our top 10 list. This is a list that Mike found by Marilyn Manson. Did I read that right?
Yes, you nailed it.
It's by Mark Manson, the guy who wrote The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Poop.
Did he really?
You should have bleeped it.
Oh, whenever.
Say it again. I'll bleep it for you.
Really?
Yeah.
All right, let's try this.
Well,
the subtle art of not giving it. You're terrible, dude. You're like, I was already halfway through. Whenever I see titles, I've never read that book, by the way, but whenever I see titles like that, it's like, so you put the F word on the title so you'd sell more copies?
There was like a huge surge of books like that for a period of time.
Un-F yourself.
Mm-hmm.
What do you have?
This, however, was from the 90s. So it preceded. It was cool before it was cool.
Is that's oh yeah.
Chris Cornell. His voice is freaking amazing.
You might say it's like the Godhead. All right, so he says this thing says, I should make Mike introduce this, but he says, I've been writing about relationships for 19 years. These 10 opinions still get me hate. Now, I'm not going to read through his explanations, just the top 10 opinions. Interesting. So number one, and I'm going to read through all 10, and then you guys can pick the ones you like or don't like. Number one, love is not enough. Number two, the person you marry is the person you fight with. Number three, people mistake intensity for quality. Number four, healthy love feels boring. Number five, you will find other people attractive. Number six, the happiest couples have unresolved issues they've been fighting about for decades. Number seven, you're probably the common denominator in all your failed relationships. Number 8, you should judge your partner's behavior the same way you judge a best friend's. I might actually. Anyway, number 9, sometimes the best outcome for a relationship is for it to end. And number 10, you're not going to be gaga over each other every day. So, as I read through this time, I actually read through those and I mentioned to you guys before, like a lot of the stuff I will tell people, not in this wording exactly, but I'll tell people these same things. So when he says he gets a lot of hate for these, I'm like, do you, or is that just a way of posting a comment that's like, I'm going to make this sound controversial. It's not really that controversial.
But Rob, it's titled 10 Controversial Truths About Relationships.
Controversial truths.
So it must be controversial because it says it in the title.
Oh, well, guess what the title of this episode is going to be? Controversial episode title. That's what it's going to be. Insert controversial comments here.
And then put the F word right at the end.
F star. So, any of those that you like, my first read through, I thought I agree with all those. There's one now that I'm like, I might disagree with that one.
Yeah, I was going to say number 6. I just think like the happiest couples have unresolved issues that they've come to terms with and like learn to accept each other, not that they keep fighting about it for decades. It seems like those are the people that, in my experience, are like
in our office
struggling quite a bit more, right? Because it's like, they haven't learned is this an issue that is one of those perpetual issues that has way more to do with our differences as people than it has to do with our couple dynamic. So it's not something you try and fight about and change. So I disagree with that one. There's just too many, like, I think if he said like, you can still be happy with unresolved issues that you still fight about,
well, and I guess
but
I'd
I don't
be
think
curious.
it's like the happiest couples are people,
Right.
I'm like, okay, that doesn't.
I guess I'd be curious to know too how he's defining resolved, because one of the things that I argue with, one of the things that I talk about with clients a lot is the idea that you're not always going to agree with your spouse, and that's fine. And so I think, no, there could be a topic that you don't agree on that sure, there's a potential to fight because you don't agree on the topic. Is it resolved? Well, sure, because you've come to accept the fact that you're not going to agree, and that's okay. And so I think, well, I would consider that resolved. Like, do we agree? No, but that's fine. We don't have to. Like, agreement is not a requirement in any relationship. Now, I think there are things that if you don't agree on, you're going to make the relationship a whole lot harder.
Like, should we get married?
Look, for starters. Should our marriage be open? That could be problematic.
But it might work for us.
but I think, yeah, like I said, I think you don't have to agree to have a functional, happy relationship. That's not a requirement.
Well, I think that one's like, that's one that I actually tell couple. I don't say it like that. I think if you read it this way instead, even the happiest couples have unresolved issues, instead of just saying the happiest couples.
Well, that's all that part of it. I'm like, I totally agree. It's that they fight about for decades. I'm like, yeah, no, the fighting part, like they've learned to not fight about those things because they're unresolved and they're not going to change. Like, so quit going toe to toe on issues. That's the part that I had an issue with.
I guess like what I tell people is that even the best relationships will have topics that I don't think I say they'll fight about for decades, but I'll say you will have things that will be a point of conflict for you for your entire marriage. And they will ebb and flow with how often you do or don't bring those things up. Because sometimes it's like we've learned to live with these things, but sometimes they still crop back up.
Yeah.
The thing that I find helpful about it is it's a way of saying, oh, okay, so if we have something that just kind of stays there, that's not a problem.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't mean there's something wrong with us. What we do with it is
the problem, though. I think that's the thing. Like when differences are just differences, it's not a problem. But when differences are a problem, it's a massive problem.
Okay. I had to track that statement. There's too many problems and too many differences in there. Mike, you had some issues with some of the other ones too, though.
Oh, I sure did.
How many of them?
Just like that was one, and that's I realized like I have an issue with ones that feel subjective to me. Like for example, number 5, like you will find other people attractive. Like that's not a subjective statement to me. He's not defining what attractive is. He's not, right? He's just saying, no, like you, just because you get married doesn't mean you, or just because you're in a relationship doesn't mean you stop recognizing an attractive person. And I think, no, that's true. Like, okay. But like number 4, healthy love feels boring. And I think, well, according to whose definition? Like what definition of boring are we using? Because the number of people I meet that are like, no, I just want things to be like settled and calm and whatever. And I think, yeah, they're not looking for, you know, like to them, what someone else would look at and say, well, your relationship's boring. You guys just do this. I think, yeah, but for them, that's just happiness. They just found it. Like, and so to me, like I have a little bit of issue because that phrasing makes it sound like, look, if like you shouldn't expect to find joy in your relationship every day. And I don't understand that. I think I totally could find joy within my relationship every single day. If I want to put the work in, I can do that. And so that he's basically saying, you're going to be bored. I think I disagree with you. I think that's a subjective.
Well,
It's a lot of it's in how I choose to approach things.
I do think, I mean, I agree with that. Like I agree with you and I agree with him. Like I do agree that healthy love is boring.
Pick a side, Rob. Just kidding.
No, I shan't. I can straddle. Because I do think healthy love is boring in the context of like, almost never does my marriage feel like a romantic comedy. And if you look at this in the context of the sentence he has before, where people mistake intensity for quality, and talks about the most intoxicating relationships are often the most toxic.
Yeah.
And then he says, with healthy love feels boring. He says it's dull, peaceful, and repetitive. The roller coaster of emotions is intoxicating, but it's not sustainable. What matters is the quality of time in the dull moments. So he's not saying, these are all statements that are designed to make you like, oh yeah. It's like,
that's why they're controversial.
Which is why I
so
disagree with him.
Just like his title of his book, it's got the F word in it. That's controversial. But I don't I do think, if you look at this in the context of the way most people look at what they want love to be, when they're not in it, like, or when people criticize, like, they're just a boring old couple. It's like, no, they just have a healthy, sustainable, long-term love for each other.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but that's even then, like when I think of people who've made they're just a boring old couple, they're referring about the things that they do. They don't do anything. They're just like in their house, they're doing this. And I think, yeah, but that works for them. Like, sure, it's not what you want to do right now. But to me, that's not talking about the fighting, and that's not talking about the arguing. That's talking about like lifestyle choices. Like, we like to go hiking and be outdoors. Okay, great. They're 80, so they don't do that anymore. Like, so they're a boring old couple. Okay. Like, well, but they're 80. It's fine if they're on the couch.
I think his thing here, because when he's talking about, he's talking about the peaceful moments, that it's like, yeah, it's not, especially when you compare it to number 3. And maybe I shouldn't be doing that, but.
No, actually, I think that's the only thing that makes number 4 okay.
Is comparing it to number 3?
Is comparing it to number 3.
Yeah.
Because I do, and I agree with that statement. Like, I think people frequently mistake intensity and quality, right? Like, even as we argue, like I'll talk with clients a lot that we tend to want to see the intensity of our emotion mirrored in the person we're talking to. Mm-hmm. So if I feel very strongly about something and I'm sitting across from someone who's just like, okay, like chances are it's going to irritate me. Like, no, I want to see something. Agree with me, disagree with me, but I want to see like inequality in the intensity. And I think, yeah, that's a huge, right? Like we tend to associate that with care. And so I think that's a huge mistake. Like, I don't think that's an accurate thing that intensity equals level of care or whatever. So I agree with statement 3. And I get it in terms when you compare it with statement 4, I think, well, sure, by comparison, then a healthy relationship would, if number 3 is what you're looking for, or if number 3 is what you define as a quality relationship, then yeah, by comparison, an actual quality relationship is going to seem boring.
The only thing that makes number 3 work is this.
Wait, well, hold on. What am I looking at there?
It's Ted Nugent's album, Intensity in 10 Cities. It's from Wayne's World.
That was freaking a lot to take in.
Ted Nugent.
Ted Nugent called. He wants his shirt back.
And his pants, apparently. I think he's just wearing a loincloth.
If you guys heard that song, is it? I think it's Goldfinger. It's like F Ted Nugent.
No.
It's controversial.
It's not worth anything. A lot of Goldfinger songs aren't. But it's, well, I was gonna say this before I get to why I think this list is helpful, because I don't want to just go through and say, well, here's what I like and didn't like. I think there's value in a list like this overall. But I'll tell you the one I didn't like, and then Mike, I know you also didn't like number 7, but
yeah.
But I didn't like number 8 for a couple reasons, where he says you should judge your partner's behavior the same way you judge a best friend's. I feel like, no, I'm not married to my best friend. Because especially if you read his comment there, if your best friend trashed your place, refused to get a job, and yelled at you when you complained, you'd end the friendship immediately. Why do you tolerate it in a partner? And I feel like, okay, it's way more complicated than saying it that simply. That's like saying, like if my husband's not getting a job and it's like, I'm out. It's like, slow down. Let's not be reactive.
His clarifying statement made his initial statement worse.
Oh, much worse. At first, it's like, okay, but then you read
I was
kind of okay with that statement.
Give him the benefit of the doubt, like you would a best friend or something.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
But
then I read the clarifier and I was like, oh, never mind.
Yeah, especially because to me, I think that's also not true anyway. Even with my best friend, I might be like, dude, what is going on? Like every time I bring this up, you get pissed at me. Like, yeah, you talk about stuff. I just don't, especially because it says if your best friend trashed your place, it's like, well, it's their place too. Like, this is just your house. Like,
right.
And what do I care if my friend doesn't get a job? That's his problem, unless he's not paying rent, Like,
right.
I don't. It's just that one I took as like, I do think there should be a different standard that I judge. Like, I have to be more tolerant of my spouse than I do my friends. So if they're being turds, I think A, I have to tolerate it more, but B, I have to go and say, because I can't go home at the end of the night. So I got to go and say, hey, what's going on? What am I missing? Because I want to get closer and closer to my spouse, different than I would my best friend. Not, I still want to get close to my best friend, but different than I would my best friend. So that one I just feel like is like, that one's not right at all. I mean, I do understand. I believe the idea of like, speak up for yourself. Don't let someone take advantage of you and treat you like crap. But I don't agree with that. That's the only one that I outright feel like I do not agree with that, period. Everything else I can get around. But Mike, what's your issue with 7?
Which is restated for the listener.
You're probably the common
in all your failed relationships.
Sorry, Mike, I stole your thunder.
That's fine. I'm not super worried about it.
I would bring the thunder wherever I go.
It's oversimplifying the nature of a relationship to me. Like, we talk about this all the time. Anytime if a couple came in and the woman sat and said, everything in our relationship is my husband's fault, we would say, no, it's not. And we would help her see her role in the dynamic of the relationship. How is that any different than what the guy is basically saying, look at all your relationships that all failed. They're all your fault. You are the common denominator. And I think, again, you're oversimplifying the dynamic of a breakdown in a relationship. Plus, what if I'm dating someone who's like borderline personality disorder? No, I don't think I am the common denominator there.
I think when we state the opposite of it, I think I can get around that one too. First, though, when you said if a woman came in, we would help her see. My daughter told me this joke the other day. She's like, "Where does a mansplainer? Where does a mansplainer get his water?
Where?
A well, actually."
Well, actually.
No, but I think the opposite would be to approach it like all these other people. You haven't found the right one, your picker's off, and you're fine. So like, let's help you find the right person. But it's like, you're probably not, if all your relationships have gone that way, to your point, there's something going on with you and the people that you're finding, to be in a relationship with. And you're probably not, even though you're saying, I want a relationship like this, you're probably not at that level yourself to be open to that. You probably don't think you deserve that yet. You probably think like, feels unsafe at some level, even though it's a good thing. So I think it is helpful to say, let's focus on you, but not like you're the problem in all these situations and everybody else has been fine. Yeah. Yeah.
Like it is, like often especially when a relationship ends, often all you have is your ability to reflect on your role in it. Mm-hmm. And like I'll tell clients all the time, like, no, I'm a big believer in looking at a situation and saying, okay, what was my role and how do I avoid making those mistakes again? And so certainly I'm not saying it's all the other person, but I think, no, it's a more complicated dynamic than you're the common denominator. You're the reason it didn't work out over and over again. And again, like his clarifying statement helped because he points out, like he even says something like, it could be that you're, self-selecting for dysfunction. Like you're, like you're unintentionally looking and attracting people who are going to fill a certain role for you that's not a healthy dynamic for you. And so your relationships end up. And I think, I can see that, but taken on its face value, that was where me, I just think, no, it was an oversimplification of what relationships are. Mm-hmm. And as an individual, yes, we can only, it doesn't do me a lot of good to sit and say, well, it's all her fault and this and this and this. I have to look and say, what was I contributing to it? Why was I allowing it? Why was I not? That's all I can look at. But, or that's all I can, take control of and address. But to me, it was just an oversimplification. Yeah. Rob, you feel like you've been brewing to say something?
No, on that one. I agree with what you guys said, and this will get into my tip of my tri-tip, but which that'll be your challenge. What are you guys going to be? What's going to be your tip for this?
Dude, you just gave me a weird image.
Did I?
Are we racing? Are we competing with the tips of our tri-tips?
The 3 spires. I should tell you about one time when my friend's dog pooped by her pool. And we're looking over. I was like, oh, it's like 3 perfect spires all in a row. It's like it pooped in a. Anyway, when I read this, I think I have some clients where we've laughed about it. It's like, I know the cliche thing that therapists say is, well, if everybody around you sucks, guess who probably sucks? And because you guys have done that, right? When everyone's like, oh, everyone's just such jerks. It's like, maybe you're being a jerk to everybody, I've had that conversation twice in the last week with somebody where somebody was like, I can't remember exactly how they phrased it, but was it basically am I the problem? And I was like, Yes. And I said, but not in the way that you think. The problem here is your assumption about these humans is very different than mine. When I hear you tell this story, it's very different than you have a story that's very different than the way I hear it, because I'm approaching from a different angle, assuming these people are freaked out or scared or lonely or whatever. And you're thinking they're out to get you and they hate you and they, so I'm saying, yeah, you're the problem because you're responding to them like they all hate you and they're trying to murder you, and they're not. So I do agree with that idea that I don't, even actually his clarification, I don't, sometimes I have a hard time. I mean, I get this idea that this is true sometimes where it's like you're unknowingly self-selecting for dysfunction. Sometimes I'm like, yeah, maybe, but even that means get a better picker, right? Because that sounds like it's not you. You just keep picking bad people. It's like, no, it is you. Like you are doing something that is screwing your relationship up. If you don't look at you, that's going to be a problem in every single relationship you have. Not just that I think I picked the wrong person. Even though that can, I can understand that sometimes you're attracted to people who are intense. And when you get somebody who's intense emotionally and really passionate romantically, you're also going to get somebody who's mentioning up in number 3, where it's like they're also going to be really intense on the other side. So you can't pick one kind of intensity. Like I want somebody who's so passionate and that feels so much romantic intensity, but also likes to sit quietly and just hold my hand, as we watch the sunset. I'm like, you're probably not getting that. So I do think, and this is, we'll see what, maybe it's too early to get into this, but we can have a short episode, guys. Sometimes get off my back.
Plus it's later than I think you think it is.
Well, it is later, but it's not, this episode's not as long as it looks like. But here's my tip. Like I look at this and I think, there is value in taking something like this. Like I think at times directly trying to challenge existing cultural norms or beliefs we have about relationships. So he's kind of pushing back intentionally in quote unquote controversial ways, because unfortunately the society we exist in now almost demands controversial or it will not get eyeballs. And so I can appreciate the attempt to say, hey, let me throw out 10 things that are quote unquote controversial, say they get me hate, because maybe you'll read these things and get something from them. But my tip is like this is true of a list like this or a self-help book or a podcast you listen to, except for the ManSpace, because everything we say is perfect and golden. But you always have to listen for the principle of something, not exactly how they phrased it. If you're going to take issue with that, I mean, this happens to people when they read like the Bible or it's like, well, hold on a second. What are they actually getting at here? Kind of like that study that I read that I won't go into specifics about, but man, it made me angry, where it was the APA had based a lot of their decisions on this study that said it lowers depression, though not significant. This, and this is like, well, slow down and go back for a second. That's very significant to say, though not significant. It means you found nothing. So I think in something like this, you have to kind of get it. He's kind of trying to say, hey, shift your expectations for what your relationship's going to look like. It's going to be boring. It's going to be hard. There's always going to be things you fight about. Stop thinking you're going to have something that's intense and passionate, romantic, and you're so in love that you never fight because you figured out how to be good communicators and now everything's resolved. Or, don't walk around thinking everyone around me is a jerk. It's like, yeah, that could be you, man. There's a principle to pull out, even if you kind of disagree. Like I said, even the one I disagree with, your partner's behavior, it's like, well, I do disagree with that, but I also understand the idea that maybe he's saying, hey, don't become a doormat just because you're in a relationship. Don't let someone take advantage of you. Don't let someone speak up for yourself, advocate for yourself. So sometimes my tip is like when you're reading a self-help book or listening to a podcast, take everything with a grain of salt, because some people are saying things just to get you to listen. And you have to listen through for the principle of like, okay, what are they actually getting at? Not just, okay, well, I guess if my partner doesn't want to get a job, if I take this correctly, I should just probably get out. It's like, no, it's not that simple. So just, you got to read, you got to gather principles out of this stuff. Look for truth, but don't take it exactly as it's written. That's my tip. Boys, tip me.
I will say the boring. Yeah, like if you read this list, like you're saying, from a boring perspective instead of the clickbait perspective. Oh, it's like life size.
I actually thought that was Rob's hand at first. I was like, what the crap are you doing, dude?
Get the right angle. Anyway, sorry, go ahead.
Rob's clearly very dialed into what you're saying, man.
If you get the controversy out of it, you can extrapolate that stuff. I think, though, for me, when I read that list, it's like it highlights the reality that, generally speaking, we're much better at beginnings than we are at endings. And if you read, there's a million of these, right? But some are better than others. But if you read anything that talks about the stages that a marriage will go through, I think that just like with family life cycle stuff, when you're moving from a phase into a new one, that's when people land in therapy. That's when people really struggle. And I think a big part of it is something that existed is now ending, and I don't know what's ahead of me. But reading lists like that, you can orient yourself a little bit to like, yes, these are natural shifts in a relationship, and some of them lead to, to use some of these descriptors he listed. It's like, yeah, compared to like the honeymoon stage of a relationship, this does feel more difficult, right? It's because there's a new part of you that's supposed to emerge in this. And we all like things to stay the same, and we resist change, and nobody wants to go through the discomfort of growth. So, but looking at those stages, it's like I can open myself up to the next part of this. I can recognize that biologically and hormonally, there are some key shifts that happen when he talks about boring, right? Like men kind of go from this like high testosterone to like more increased vasopressin stage as relationships, go on. And that's meant to be that way. So there's more stability and there's more calm and groundedness. So I think just educating yourself about the natural progression of and the seasons of life, marriage, relationships, you're not so surprised by the shifts. Like you were talking about when it's like looking at an older couple, like why are we expecting that a couple who's been married for 50 years is going to be, who's going to look the same in a restaurant as someone on their first date?
Yeah.
And like, why would we feel depressed that changes? I mean, we could, right? But it's one of those things that is, right? It's like,
it's a progression.
Getting super upset that the leaves are falling off the tree, but it's like, hey, it's fall, buddy. Like, that's what happens.
Right.
Right. Like, I think that just that resistance to change oftentimes keeps us stuck in the alternate versions of what he's saying.
Yeah. Mike, what's your tip?
So I have two.
Oh,
well, no,
tip.
One of
That's
them,
gross.
One of them's just kind of a piggyback off of Matt's.
This isn't an oddly shaped iceberg tip, is it?
No.
Continue. Piggyback.
Well, now you guys distracted me.
You had two tips.
I know, and I can remember one of them.
The second one will come. Just start talking. We trust you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Deep trust.
Yeah, so my actual tip, because I can't remember the first one yet. We'll see if it comes. My actual tip was, chances are, if you are seeing a list like this, like you're either going to send it to someone or someone sent it to you, right? Mm-hmm. Like the number of times I've worked with couples and they're like, yeah, she just sends me like these Instagram reels about like this or that. And I think it would be really easy to look at it and focus on the content like we did, right? Like my initial reading of it, no, I wasn't I wasn't taking the time to extract principles from it. I was reading what the guy said and was just like, agree, disagree, iffy on it, right? If for example, like Jenner had sent this to me or someone else had, like there'd be that tendency to be like, oh, so you like, these are all just the things you think are wrong with me, right? And you like, as you're reading it, you're immediately defensive.
Yeah.
Or you're immediately looking at it, trying to attack the argument. Like couples love to nitpick details of different fights because we want the concrete thing to argue, or at least the thing that feels concrete. No, it was this time, it was this place. It's like you're arguing about where you had the argument as opposed to why you like, we're talking about the wrong thing. And so my tip is, if you're sent something like this, like read it, go ahead and be irritated that your wife is telling you there's something wrong with you or something wrong with your relationship or whatever. But then pause for a minute and ask, like, okay, she sent this to me. Why? There's a conversation in there. There's a chance to say, hey, like, okay, let's like, yes, maybe she is trying to correct you. And if that's the case, where even if you go and talk to her and she's like, well, you're just doing everything wrong, then say, hey, maybe we should go see a couples therapist. That's what we're here for. But if it's, like, again, hey, you're sending this to me, do you want to talk about something? Chances are she does. That's why she sent it. She's hoping to get a conversation going. She's hoping you'll engage. She's hoping you'll think about the nature of the relationship, or he, right? Like, it's not totally uncommon for a husband to send stuff like this to his spouse, his wife. And so I think, if it comes, just recognize they're inviting an engagement. They just want you to engage in the relationship in some way. So go find out about it. It doesn't necessarily mean something's wrong. It doesn't mean you haven't been engaging. It just means they have a thought. So go find out what it is. And don't text it. It's terrible. I never remembered what the second thing was. So
that's okay, man.
We're just back to a tri-tip.
We're a tri-tip.
Right?
Yeah.
We're just back to the tri-tip because I couldn't remember the other one.
Thankfully, no one wants a square piece of
No
meat.
one wants a
That's
fork.
weird.
It's called a fork.
Oh, yeah.
It's called a fork. Well, then, Spacemen, there you have it. I guess come back next time and catch us on the ManSpace. It's called a fork.